everyone, and welcome to ShadowCat Looming. Today we will be making this little semi-3D snowflake here, and if you can tell, we've got two different styles, one that prongs out three different directions, and one that's kind of more pointed with a little color in the center. Now this one I used Rainbow Loom's clear bands and glow-in-the-dark white. If you don't have those, blues work and purples work and things like that, which is actually the colors we're going to be using today. If you do need any supplies, you can check us out on the web. We do have a bunch of different bands and hooks and so forth out there. www.partyonsupplies.net. I'll post that again at the end too. And today, this is the design that we're going to be doing. We're going to make 3 of this one and 3 of this one. And when we make them, we're going to be making them one, then the other, then back to one, then the other again. And we do that because we're going to actually be putting them on the crochet hook, and we want them in that every other pattern here, because we're going to make a gigantic slip knot at the end to tie it all together. So it should be pretty fun. Now, in this example, I used clear and white, but that's going to be kind of hard to see on the board. So we're actually going to be using the Rainbow Loom turquoise and opaque purple. Alright, so our first thing that we're going to be doing, all of these bands are 1B2X, so we're going to be doubling them all. To double a band, you want to take the band between your fingers, pull it out, put 2 fingers in each side, twist it so it makes an 8, put those or that band back on your 2 fingers, and then put that onto the board. Now that's one way to make the 1B2X band. Another way to make it is actually on the board. So you'd put the band on, put on the 2 pegs you want it on, pull it out. You can use your other hand here to hold it down if you need, and then loop it back over the first 2 pegs again. So whichever way is easier for you, go ahead and make your doubled bands that way. We're going to go down 3 in the center. Make sure you've got it in the staggered format. Then we're going to do 2 off on the side here. Now, I actually like to turn my board a little bit. I'll hold down, and I'll loop back over that way. We're going from the middle down to the diagonal left. Put another band on. Double that one. Now at the end of that, we are going to be using a capping band, a 1B4X cap. So the same way as what we were doing for the others, we're going to put the band on, pull it out, making a figure 8. We can use our finger to help hold down the band if we need. Looping it back around, keep holding on to it, pull it out again, make the figure 8 again. Loop it back around, that's 3 times. Pull it out, figure 8, loop back around 4 times. That makes a 4-band cap. The other way you can tell it's 4 bands is if you count it from the side here, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4. And that way you can ensure that you've done it right. Now, as we make these snowflakes, it's going to be really important to keep our layers separated so that we can actually tell what's on the top, what's on the bottom, because we are going to have quite a buildup on some of these pegs. So now let's continue our snowflake prong in the other direction. So coming from the point where the top comes straight down and starts to go out to the left, we're going to go out to the right now. These are all 1B2X, one band 2 times round. And then a capping band again, 4 times around. Then we'll go down the center from that same starter middle point. That's going to have a lot of bands on it at the end. Then a capping band after coming down 2 times down the center from that point. And a 4 times cap band. 2. Still 2. 3. And 4. Alright, once you've got that, we'll want to weave it up. And we'll want to start at the bottom center. And we'll weave that to that middle point. Then we'll weave the side to the middle point. Then we'll weave the other side to the middle point. Then we'll weave up. So pull back on the capping band so that all of the bands are back. Go down and grab the bottom 2 bands and carefully pull it up to the next peg. Now, because these are 1B2X bands, you may actually need to hold it down with your finger so the cap band doesn't come off. So weave that a second time. And on the right side. Now here, my capping band is really close to my bottom bands, and it's hard to grab what I need, so I'm actually going to separate them out first. Now, it's really easy to see the 2 different layers. And now, I can go in, pull the cap band back, and grab the bottom 2 bands a lot easier. Okay, that's 2 sides done. Now I'll go and do the 3rd side. Pull the cap band back. Make sure you've got 2 bands at the bottom one that you're grabbing. Then, once everything is woven to that center point, if you look from the side, sometimes it's a little easier to see, and sometimes I'll actually pull out these 2 bands while looking from the side direction, and I can see where they're coming from all the way on the bottom. Keep an eye on those, and it's easier, I think, to have the board held sideways. You go down through the center, all the bands, and you pull back right before those bottom 2 bands that you just pulled on. Grab those 2. And unhook it from both sides carefully. Pull it up to the next peg. Now, if you're seeing this little teardrop shape with the bands after you've moved them, that's a good sign. That means you've done it correct. If you are not, then either you've done it wrong and you've pulled a wrong band, or you'll need a tension release. A tension release is just going down the center and working your hook around. Same thing, going down and working it around the other way. And keep in mind when I'm doing that, I'm not pulling and tugging. I'm just lightly going around. You don't want to do a lot of pressure on that. Now we'll take it off the board. I find it very useful in this project in particular to use a crochet hook. Because the bands are so tight, it's easier if you take the end of a crochet hook, you just put it in the peg, and then you just bend it backwards. That'll release the bands to the next peg. Then you can pull your hook out, put it in the next one, bend it back, release. And that's just going to be the easiest way, since these bands are so tight, to be able to get it off. Now, when you get up toward the top, I'll actually put a finger or something up here to make sure that the bands don't accidentally come off. it all the way to the top, put my hook in, and take them off that way. And then we're just going to actually keep lining them up on the hook. We're going to put the hook off to the side each time, and we want to do every other. So now we want to make the other style. Again, this will start right in the center at the top. 1B2X. One band doubled, that means. After coming down twice, we'll actually turn to the right. Come diagonally. Remember to keep pushing your band down too. Then we'll go from that point down to that point. And we'll double that. Then we want to come back up to that center point where we started to go to the right before. And now we'll go to the left. Then we'll go from that point to that center middle point again. It's easier to double the bands usually on the board, but these bands, when they're jelly, they sometimes are a little bit tighter to work with, and they're a little bit trickier to double as easily. Alright, once we've rejoined both sides, we'll come down another section here. Put a capping band at the bottom of that. And this time it's only going to be a 3X cap. Because if you notice on the tip of this piece, it's a little bit poofier than on the tips of the points. So that's because of the 3X. Now we'll take our other color. This one's going to be purple. We'll put it on our hooks and we'll wrap it 4 times around our hook. So that's 1 right there. Grab it, pull it under, around, and through. That's 2. Do the same thing. 3. And once more is 4. I like to spin it a little bit after that. It kind of evens up all of the different layers. We'll take 1 band, we'll double it, so pull it out, make the 8, loop it back around, take the hook, and I have 1 part of the band on my finger, 1 part on the hook. There's that tension I'm pulling down on. Grab that hook, and we're going to slide these bands right there onto the bands on the hook. Once we've done that, we're going to place the bands from our finger onto the top middle peg. We're going to place the second set of bands onto the bottom of that little diamond. Now, when we weave up, we're actually going to ignore the blue bands that this has been placed on. So we're going to act like that's a capping band. So whenever you come to those, make sure that those bands are being pulled back when you go down to get your other bands to move them. So let's weave. So we'll start at the bottom, grab those bottom 2 bands, weave to the next peg. Now, we've got to see which side to weave first. If you look from the side, you can tell that there's 2 bands that are on the very bottom here, and then there's 2 bands that are above that. We actually want the 2 bands that are above that. because those are the top of the bottom bands. So we'll pull those bands back, grab the two that are going to the left, only those two. Remember, we're looking for that teardrop shape. That means that we've done it correct. While we're here, we can then go back down, grab those bottom two bands, or the last two left down there, and pull it off to the right side. Continue working around. Reach through, grab the bottom two bands. And on the left side too. Reach through, grab the bottom two bands. And on the next set. Now we're going up with it. Everything has joined in the center. And when we weave up, we may want to do a double check, which is just pulling the bands out here to the side. You can actually see that the bands going up have captured all of those bands, and that's a good sign. That means everything's staying together. And finish weaving to the top. And once you've gotten it to the top, we'll want to put it onto our holding stick with this one. So put the finger at the top so the bands don't come off. And take them off the board. When you get to that top one, turn your hook around and grab it. Then slide it down next to the other one. You can see how this one actually has the purple in the center and the blue around the outside. It's a little curved, so you may need to squish it into the shape you need it to be a little bit. You'll keep doing that. We want to do the pattern alternating, so you're going to do another 3-prong, then you're going to do another diamond, then another 3-prong, then another diamond. So once you've got 6 done all together, then why don't you come back and unpause the video and we'll continue on. Alright, welcome back. Let's continue on. You should now have 6 little pieces, and 3 of each style, all on a crochet hook. What we're going to do next is we're going to make a chain of slip knots. So let's actually use the board to do that. It might be easier to show you. Go ahead and put 1 band on the board. Take your hook. Grab a second band from underneath, pull it halfway through, put the hook through the first band. So now you have 2 bands on the hook. You're going to take the back band up and over the first band, and then pull. And that makes 2 bands slip knotted together. So you'll want to do that 2 right now, and then we'll add another one in a little bit. And what we're doing now is we're actually going to be getting all of these pieces onto the slip knot chain. The way you can do that, if you have problems holding it in your finger and holding it on the hook and moving it off like this, another way you can do that is actually use the bottom 2 pegs of your board here and then slide it off onto the band. Now you might need to put something heavy down on it to make sure it's a little more stable or something like that. That's an alternative, but I find it a little bit easier to put it on a finger, put it on the hook and move it that way. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. Now, if I pull down on these bands, it kind of creates a little triangle in there, in which I can just slide the crochet hook right on through and not have to worry about too much. I'm going to be sliding it up to the knot where the 2 slip knots connect. You don't want to slide it much farther than that. Do that with each of these 6 pieces. Once you have all 6 pieces on the slip knot chain, we're going to do a gigantic slip knot with it. We're going to take the hook that still has the 1 band on it. Just grab the 2nd band there and pull it through that 1st band. Now don't pull too much here because it could snap the band and you don't want to do that. You just got to be gentle with it. And slide it as tight as you can, being gentle. It's going to create this little circle in the center here. There, now you can see the circle. And it's going to have a little hanging chain here. You can either use that to hang, you can add another slip knot to it if you like. The other thing you can do is actually have it come through one of the prongs, so it'll hang from a prong if you like. You just weave it back and forth in between it if you're going to do it that way. But yeah, this is my semi 3D snowflake, because if you look at it from the edge, it is 3D. I hope you guys liked it. It is kind of pretty in the blue, or in a clear, or in a white, whatever you guys have. If you do take some pictures. I'd love to see how they turned out for you, and what you thought of them, and what colors you used. And I look forward to it. If you liked, please leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. I look forward to it. And I will see you guys next time. Alright, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.